So I wanted to share my dream. Um, so just so you see it too. I'm talking to Rita. So if anybody wants
Hi.
to, yeah, yay. Um, so I had a dream about our cosmic dialogue, and it was really interesting. And I actually went to a dream group today. So, and this is the. I know I've sent this to you
Hmm.
by a picture text by picture. Um, but basically, it was really kind of a cool thing about like our what we're doing. We're in a room. It's a big metallic room, and above us are like these researchers in a window above us. So, and there's 10 of us sitting in a circle, and we're the Cosmic Dialog group. And then there are three researchers up watching us in a window, and so they keep watching us, and we start doing things, and then all of a sudden we come across this idea, and this is what happened in my dream: is that if we started pairing total positivity with our cosmic dialogue, the researchers and we started to understand that if we paired the positivity, like extreme positive attitude, extreme positive emotion, loving emotion, and like really didn't get into the negative, though that was like starting to show some global shifts in the world, measurable shifts in the world, and so that's what got the attention of researchers finally. So um,
Finally.
and there were more of them that showed up.
Okay.
And then we kept doing that, and then all of a sudden, like there were more researchers interested, and so that goes to this panel down here.
Hmm.
So there were more researchers interested, and they said, "We want you to come back for a special session. We want to make sure that it's we don't want to tell you what's going on because we don't want to influence you, and we want you to do your things, but we're going to hook you up to electrodes and measure you and do all sorts of stuff. But we want to just have you come here." So while we're there with like a lot of researchers, there were 8 of them instead of just whatever. We were doing our thing, positivity, cosmic dialogue, sitting in the circle, all 10 of us. And then as we were doing this bright light just started swirling around us. This vortex of bright light swirling around all 10 of us sitting in the circle. And all of a sudden we just see this big flash of white light. And then everything comes back to normal to us. We're like, okay, what was that? Well, that was kind of cool. But then we see, after that, we see one researcher up in the booth. And the researcher says, "Welcome back. It's 1 year later."
Oh.
And they were hooking us up to see if they could like measure our cellular, how our cells were actually doing. If we were like doing our minds and everything else into the future, are our cells reacting the same way, and are our cells, the very cells of our makeup, going into the future as well? Did they even know the difference? So they wanted to measure us on a cellular level, and then that swirling actually propelled us and transported us. It was as if we vanished from their reality, but we actually just, to us, it was instantaneous, and we showed up in the same place instantaneously, but one researcher stuck around. And also, there was one person in our group of 10 who, when she found out, it was a female in this instance, I don't know what that means, but there was one person in our group of 10 in our circle of cosmic dialogue. She came back, she realized, okay, the researcher says, our experiment yielded this, and you're now 1 year into the future. So I hope that that's okay. It doesn't matter because we were. And one person, a female in our group, decided that this was completely unacceptable. She was never notified that she might go into the future. She was never consulted about this experiment. She thought it was incredibly unethical. She thought, you didn't tell us this. This is like not what I wanted. I'm leaving, goodbye. She was offended, incredibly offended, because she was transported a year into the future out of the effects of all the things that were happening. And all the researchers wanted to do was measure. They didn't know this was going to happen. And so she left, but the rest of us 9, we were like, this is incredible. of course we're going to continue this. We're in the future, cool, whatever. We kind of just accepted it. We were trusting. But one person decided they'd had enough of this cosmic dialogue and all of this stuff. The experiment for them was over. They had finally like gone into the future, and we'd accomplished something that no one had ever done. But she'd had enough, and that was it. And it left us with just one researcher that stuck around. Apparently that the rest of the research thought, oh my gosh, they vanished. What did we do? They're gone. But this one researcher came back just to witness us. I shared this in a dream group today, and actually someone talked about like the numbers, like of the researchers, and the numbers, number 10, there were 10 of us, and then they became 9, and what does 10 mean to you? And I said, well, numerology, I always tell people 10 is like perfection plus divinity. 9 is perfection, and then 10 is usually perfection with divinity. And that just like stopped me in my tracks when I said that. She said, so there was 10, one left, and then it was just you and a researcher, the 9 of you plus a researcher still. So there were still 10 people. So it kind of got me thinking about this. And so what do you think about this, Rita? What do you think?
Well, yeah, I wondered about that number, and noticed the one person had to leave in order to keep it at 10. Were there any recognizable, like, did you recognize people there?
No, but I remember me being there, and that I was one of the 10. This female was like, she was younger, more immature, but I don't know if she was physically aged immature, but she seemed younger and immature. And so I don't know what that's about. But I didn't recognize her immediately. She was just offended completely. This is enough. So
Yeah, well, maybe she was triggered, or maybe she just had to be moved out, and she was the most likely one by the standards of whoever created the swirling energy vortex, or just the positive energy needed to move that one person out.
yeah, so I don't know. And the rest of us were kind of like chuckling, like, well, she's already in the future a year, so she can leave if she wants, but she's already in the future 1 year.
Right. So how's she going to get back if she's offended?
Yeah. It's like, that was like the thought of all of us. And, and the researcher was just there, like, I came back and you're here. It's a year later when you propelled yourself here, so I came back to witness it, and here you are.
Wow.
So
yeah, just looking at the storyboard earlier, it felt a little bit like a 50s movie, sci-fi movie, but so right on that we're going to be living it.
Oh, it's interesting. It's like, I think that, and this dream group was really fascinated with it. Like, there were like 8 of us there, and one of the comments were like, do you think anyone dreams like you do, Scott?
So, I know, these are so vivid, and
probably not. So, but yeah, and another person said they said something about Twilight Zone music. This one, Twilight Zone music. I said, it's funny you say that.
Right.
Because that's something we always talk about. Cue the Twilight Zone music. So, but they've seen some of my other dreams too that I have in my drawing journal.
Mm-hmm.
They've been witness to some of my other dreams that I've shared. So it's a good group. But yeah. I do think that, like, if we we want to shift humanity forward. What are our next steps? You know,
Yeah.
what I shared too is like, if we all did this exercise, if there were 10 of us that did this exercise for years and kept doing this and starting to pile things on, and we actually had measurable shifts in our life and in the world, what do you think might be the next logical step? If our mind doesn't know the difference and our cells don't know the difference.
Right. Yeah. And we don't necessarily have to be in a lab room, to get the process started. Um, Yeah. I mean, the window could even be computer screens.
It could be computer screens. It could be just folks who kind of lurk and they're like, "Oh, I'm just watching their YouTube. Seeing what's going on." And well, we experienced that earlier on with all these like people who watched us doing things and they dropped away, and
Right.
they were curious for a while, and then more people got curious.
I'm leaving.
Then I'm leaving.
You've offended me.
This is too much. And in the meantime, they've been transported and we've been transported, but it's too much, and they're leaving.
Yeah.
So, it's a kind of a you're welcome.
Right.
Time.
Right.
So, go ahead and leave. You're in the future. You're welcome.
Yeah. Right.
So, so that was this morning's dream.
I love it.
Oh, great.
Yeah. I feel like there'll be other realizations, like evidence of this becoming something we experience in this world, not just your spirit experience.
Well, I can't discount that, because I just have to wait, and then usually I see validation in some form when I have these kinds of dreams. So
yeah,
all of the other spooky music that gets cued, we tend to find these things like similarities in the Gospel of Thomas and that third hand, that third presence, and spiritual matrix of source universe, and how this is probably nothing new.
right.
So, yeah. This is the first time I dreamed about this cosmic dialogers and a circle of 10.
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah. So I guess we'll stay tuned.
Right.
See what happens. So, but I just wanted to share that, I guess, on camera too. And so with you, your reactions. And so with that, I'll just...
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
It's fun being part of Scott's dream world.
I agree. Sometimes I think it's fun too. So, yeah. So it's very interesting. So everyone should try it. So.
Definitely.